Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at the part of control statements in Java, loop control statements. From this video onwards, the skill check section will not be available. Loops. Java loops facilitates the execution of a set of instructions repeatedly when some condition evaluates to true. There are mainly three types of loop statements in Java: while, do while, and for loops. There is also an enhanced version of for loop traverse data structures like array or collections called for each loop. While loop. The while loop can be also considered as a repeating if statement. It allows a block of code to be executed repeatedly based on a given Boolean condition. Condition is true, the while loop block executes. Otherwise, the block of code is not executed. It is also called as the entry controlled loop as the condition check is at the beginning of the loop. Whenever you don't know the number of iterations in advance, it is recommended to use while loop. Syntax example: do while loop. The do while loop checks the condition at the end of the loop, that is, after executing the block of code of the loop statements. Hence, it is called as exit control loop. Do while loop straightaway starts the execution of the statements without checking any condition for the first time. Only after the first execution, the condition is checked for Boolean. If true, next iteration loop starts. Otherwise, loop terminates and the next line of code is executed. Syntax example: for loop. For loop provides more precise and structured way of writing the loops. Unlike while loop that evaluates condition to be true, a for loop statement contains three parts in one line, namely initialization, condition, and increment or decrement. Thus, provides a shorter, structured, and easier debug loop statement. There are four parts of for loop. Initialization: the initial condition which should be executed when the loop starts. You can use an already initialized variable or declare and initialize a new variable that is to be used only for this loop. Condition: the condition that should be evaluated each time for the loop. It must evaluate the Boolean value. The loop will execute until the condition is false. Increment or decrement: to update the variable for the iteration. Statement: the code block of the for loop that executes until the condition becomes false. Syntax example: in a way, for loops are entry control loops because the condition is checked before the loop's block execution. Whenever the number of iteration is fixed, it is recommended to use for loop. For each loop. For each loop is an enhanced version of for loop to traverse data structures like array or collections. There is no declaring and initializing a loop counter variable. You simply declare a variable that is of the same type as the base type of the array or collection, followed by colon and then the variable to be traversed. For each loop works based on the elements of the variable, not the index. The defined variable's element is returned one by one. Syntax example: we will look at for each loop on future videos of array and later in collections. You need to handle every loop statement cautiously. If the condition of loop statements is always true, it will end up in infinite loops, resulting in complete utilization of resources. Some examples of infinite loops. Let's look at some examples to understand loop control statements in detail. Let's take one single requirement to show the examples of while, do while, and for loop. So we need to print from 0 to 10 each number in a line. First, while loop. Had created a class demo while loop and define a main method, declaring a variable for the while loop to control the iteration. We have to print from 0. So initializing int I equal to 0. It is general practice to declare the counter variable of loop with I. Even in case of nested loops, you will go with I, j, k like that. How to iterate while loop till 10 while then the condition is I less than or equal to 10. The loop will execute 11 times till I value is greater than 10. All we have to do inside the while block is print the I value and post increment it. That's all. Let's debug and check the execution flow. As you see, each time it checks the condition before the loop code block. Finally, when the condition is false, it terminates the loop. The output is printed as expected. Next is for the same requirement of printing 0 to 10 with do while loop. Created a class demo do while loop. Defined main method and initialized int I equal to 0. Do statement followed with a block of code. At the end of the block, while statement with the same condition I less than or equal to 10. Then inside the block, printing I variable and then post incrementing it. Let's debug and check the execution flow. Here, do while code block is first executed and then the condition check happens. The output is printed as expected. Now let's print 0 to 10 with for loop. Created a class demo for loop, defined a main method. Straight away for int I is equal to 0, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. That's it. Let's debug and check the execution flow. The output is printed as expected. I did mention about nested loops. In order to show example of nested loops, let's consider this requirement of printing patterns. The expectation is to print this right angled triangle pattern. Reducing it, you need two controls. One to iterate vertically and other that iterates horizontally. So first for loop for int I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. Inside the execution block, let's define another for loop for horizontal iteration. For int j equal to 1, j less than or equal to I, j plus plus. Print the asterisk symbol with an additional space as per the pattern. Outside the second for loop, that is after we print the horizontal line, we need to move to the next line. So simply print system.out.println. Let's execute this. The output is printed as expected. You can also invert this right angled triangle with a simple change. In the second loop, let's change j equal to 5, j greater than or equal to I, j minus minus. Executing this and the output is inverted right angle triangle. These are not only the necessary ways to achieve right angle triangle pattern. We can manipulate this in so many different ways by the counter variables declaration, condition, increment or decrement, or even use while or do while nested loops. We can change this with post decrement like this. Get the right angled triangle pattern. On execution, we will get the expected result. As a programmer, it's up to you on how to use these loops optimally to get the desired results. You won't have a real world project without loops. In my opinion, if you had mastered on how to use loop statements to get desired results, you had become a programmer. Mastering loop statements is not just trying out couple of programs. It is about getting any desired output that involves a pattern. I would recommend to keep practicing real world problems and the patterns similar to what I showed in the examples. Practice, you can think of any patterns like diamonds, triangles, stars, etc. Many real world problems like Fibonacci series or find whether the number is an Armstrong number or palindrome, etc. Once you have the confidence of cracking these patterns, in my opinion, you can work with most of the programming language. Only the syntax changes. Keep practicing and master all loop control statements. Thank you.